everybody, and thank you for joining me once again in this live stream. Today we are going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to review two websites, but one of them is in Spain, is in the Spanish language, and I'm afraid that I don't know anything. And the other one is in French, which again I don't know anything, but we will try to do our best and figure out what's wrong or what can be improved. Now, if you're new to my channel, then my name is Eleftheria, and if you also want to take part, then in the description box below you will find all the information that you may need. The only thing that I need from you is a URL and your name, and then you can take part, and I will review your website, your portfolio, your code pen, a project from Free Code Camp, or whatever you may have. Alrighty, so without further ado, let's get started. The first website is going to be by Walter, and Walter told me that he concerns more about how it looks in a mobile phone, and he was a bit okay with how it is like right now. This website, as far as I can understand, is about a clinic, and I will start with all the positive things, which I honestly find like a lot of nice things in this website. One of those things is that because it's a clinic, the whole vibe is like a bit serious and not so much like, you know, with emoji or with colors that are popping out or stuff like that. Is something like everyone can understand it, and I think it's simple, it's cohesive, and something that I really liked is that the colors, not only the colors, but like the font sizes are big, and you want the font sizes to be big because most probably your audience is not like very young people, but probably it's people like in a different age. Alright, so let's start, as I said, with the positive things, which is the big letters and the sticky header. I always mention in those reviews that I like sticky headers, and it's nice that I can finally see it here. The other thing, although, is that this purple color can seem like a little bit oldish. I would prefer seeing some blue color. I think it's a little bit more modern than purple. And other than that, I think that it's really nice. I think that here in that case, you could add a smoother animation effect. This is like really bam, and like that's it. Can you see it like that? So I would prefer to see something a little bit like more smoother. And the other thing is that in this kind of animations, the problem is that the other person may want to see two things at the same time, and this is not possible. So let's say that I want to see this punction thing, and at the same time I want to see this electrotherapia. I'm sorry. So maybe someone wants to see these and these things like at the same time, but it's impossible to see those things in the same time because, you know, like you can't do that. Alright, so other than that, it looks pretty okay. If you want to change something here, I would change a little bit the colors. I would add like different shades of blue rather than purple. And in the end, I don't understand what this says. Probably it's something like direction, but I like that you have the map, and I like that the map is big. I can see here again that you have the direction, you can have the phone and the email. That's really good. I've already checked all the links, the external links, and they work perfectly fine, so you really did a nice job. Another thing that you could also add is up here, like in the menu, every time that I go somewhere, this should be like in a different color, so I know in which section I am every time. So now, for example, if I am in, I don't know, communication or directions, like let's say that should be blue, where if I am in information, again, that should be blue. One thing that it's missing for sure is the home page. So here I'm home, but the menu doesn't include home. And the other thing is that usually, for example, now that I'm in the bottom of your page, usually when I click on the menu, sorry, not on the menu, on the logo, I'm going up here. But in your case, I'm not going up here. So maybe you could do that as a button and like transfer the other person on the top of the page. A very small thing to notice here is also that you have the default favicon, and if you want to be professional, which I guess you want, then you could add like this logo right here. So instead of having this general favicon, do add your own logo, which is actually pretty cool. And another extra thing is that if you actually want to be really cohesive, and you could use the colors of your logo everywhere. I can see that you are using, for example, purple color, but you don't really use green or orange. You could play a little bit more with those colors as well. Now, the last thing about your website, Walter, is that here this font family is a little bit difficult to be read. I don't know, maybe because I don't understand your language, maybe that's why it's difficult for me, but in general, like, you want a font family that it's easy to be read. Alrighty, and now let's check how it looks on a mobile phone, which was Walter's biggest concern. And I have to say that it looks pretty cool again. Some things are a little bit different than we saw them in the website. For example, now the logo is on the center, whereas before it was on the left. If you want to be like extra cohesive, then this could be on the left as well, and maybe that menu could be like a hamburger icon, so the other person would click on that and could see the menu. But in general, I do like that. Maybe you could even make the font size like a little bit bigger. You have like this one, maybe you could do it as 1. Okay, I don't know why it's working very well, but you could play, like a little bit more with the font size. Not so much, but you get the point. Other than that, it looks pretty okay, and I don't think that you should change anything else. Oh, and here the animation doesn't play. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that, but it doesn't play really well. I actually cannot see anything from the information that I could see before, so really try to fix that. I'm not sure if it's something big, but I guess that it's something that you can do. So yeah, the map looks pretty okay, and every information that you give here again looks pretty okay, so I don't think that I would change anything. Or the only things that I would change is again the color, and I would still have like a smooth animation here so I could see every detail, and again the logo could be on the left rather than on the center, and just change or play a little bit with the font size right here. Okay, that was it, Walter, and thank you very, very much for submitting your website. Now let's continue to another one, which is a portfolio, and it's coming to us by Mansour. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing your name correctly, but I hope I am. And this website is in French. Now, excuse me guys, but I don't know anything from French. I tried to translate at least the menu up here, and as far as I understood, if Google Translator is correct, we have home, about me, then something like a CV, and then we have a portfolio, quotes, and contact. Now, quotes is something that I don't see very usual, but we will see that in a bit. The first thing that I notice here on your website, which is like, pretty beautiful, and it has like a nice structure, but the first thing that I noticed is that this part right here is not responsive. I could expect, like, I guess here you have something developer, web developer or something like that. I would expect that to be responsive and be like inside this screen. Like maybe you could play a little bit with that to have it like inside here. Other than that, it does look pretty okay. I'm not sure if I would understand like what is this and this. I mean, is it an image or is it a button? If I hover on that, I do understand that it is a button, but if I just look at like that, then I don't understand if if these two things are actually buttons. But it's okay and it's cool because I know that also a little bit later you have again your social media. The other thing is that you could maybe play a little bit with your name. Maybe you could have it just a little bit more on the top, so the screen of the laptop could be easily seen, like more easily seen. So these are some of my suggestions. Maybe go that a little bit higher, maybe try to do that developer thing to be responsive and be inside the screen of the laptop here, and maybe you could even delete like these two buttons because I know that you also have them down below. Alright, and now I will just click here. So here we are in the About Me section. I like that I don't understand anything, but I like that you have like a big text about you. It's nice to get familiar with the other person, and I also like that you have your CV here, and maybe this is a letter of recommendation or something like that. It's even nice that you have your contact information. We usually have them down below, but it's still okay that you have them here. Maybe you could try to have like a bigger image of yourself, like it could be a rectangle that like takes this whole place, because you have like a lot of place to play with, so it would also be nice. Now if we go to the third section, which if I'm not mistaken, again it's something about your CV. Again, I really like here the whole structure. I like that it's quite minimal and with not a lot of colors, and you get the point quite fast. Yeah, like the only thing that I can understand is that maybe this was your high school. Other than that, I don't understand anything. And I think that this section is where you are working. Probably this is it. Yeah, I'm not going to say anything about that section as I don't really understand it. Okay, if here we're talking about a job of yours, maybe you could have a link to go to that job, but this is just a minor detail. Okay, and let's continue a little bit with the technologies that you are using. We are still in your CV section, so it's nice that I now have some images and some words, of course, and I can understand very easily what you're talking about. I like the structure here. I like that it's minimal and you don't give like too many things that are actually unnecessary. So the whole structure here is really beautiful. Now a small detail, a really small detail, is that you are using some images, and these images sometimes have like some padding here. I know that this padding probably isn't coming from you, but it's from the image, so maybe the image itself has like a white padding. If you want that extra detail, you can try to find an image that doesn't have like that padding or that margin, so it will be like aligned correctly here on left. Like in some cases, like here on NPM, I think that you can understand what I mean. It's like aligned on the left, but here on PHP or on CSS, it's really not excuse me, it's really not that case. So maybe you could play a little bit with that. Now on your soft skill, again, I can see the same structure. I do like that, so I wouldn't add anything else here. Maybe again, if you want that extra detail, you could add a few information, like you say motivation. You could add like why are you so motivated to do the things that you're doing, or if you're passionate about your job, why you're so passionate about that, and try to work on things like that, at least if you want to add extra information. Now, my biggest concern with your website is actually this section right here, the portfolio one. Every time that I click on a project, I go straight ahead to that project, and we don't want that. We want actually to stay inside your portfolio, so inside your web page. It would be a nice addition if you could add like another page, so every time I click here, I'm still on your portfolio and I can see like more details. I can see that you're using, for example, JavaScript vanilla and CSS, but I would like to see how you build that thing, or how you build that music thing, because I know that if I just click on that, I'm going to get some information which is cool, but I would prefer to know how you actually built it. Right, and again, I can see that most of your stuff are in French, but you could think the possibility that not all people know French, and it would be nice to have also some text in English. But you know, this is at least my personal preference. Maybe it's not working from people that are in France or in Spain or in Mexico. Cool. You could add probably some more projects. I guess that you have more projects than those 5 ones, and it could be nice to have some more variety. Okay, so a small thing that I noticed is that here you also have a dot, which in other cases, like here or up here or here, you don't really use dots, so you could also delete it from here as well. Okay, and now I'm going to this section which is about quotes, and here I also can like 2 things that again I would personally change. The first one is that the font family there is an image behind it. It's a little bit difficult to read that. At first, I actually thought that you only have the name of that quote, of the first quote, and you haven't included the name of the second quote. Then I took a better look on that and I said, oh hey, here is the name. So my suggestion here would be to either change that image. My biggest suggestion would be to change the font family, but that wouldn't solve your previous problem with a name. So you can actually transfer the names here, align them on the right side, and this is something that we usually see on quotes, so it wouldn't be weird, and then your problem with the image is going to be solved. Cool. Let's continue with the other section, which is the contact. The contact is pretty simple and cool. I do like that. You have a very big image of maybe an email or a folder. I don't understand what you exactly write here, but you can add that text. Sorry for that. So here on that right section, you have my playlist. Okay, cool. Maybe it's not everyone's cup of tea, the music that you listen to, but it's okay that at least you have added that section. Here on tweets, this section is too big. The height of that section is too big. Either you can make it horizontal, so it would be something like that, or the height should be a lot smaller. Try maybe to only do 1 tweet instead of having 3 tweets, because then you see that there is so much white space over here, and we don't want that. We don't want the user to just scroll down. Alright, and we are coming to an end. Here again you have this button back to top. I do like that. It's quite cool and it's working perfectly fine. And again, I can see all of your information like LinkedIn and GitHub. That's pretty cool and you did a good job. Okay, very quickly, let's also check it in a mobile phone. And I actually have already checked it a little bit, and I think that it's a nice website. Everything do look fine, but again, I have like a couple of things that I believe that it could be a little bit better. Guys, if you hear me, you can also leave a comment on the things that you would suggest, and you can add your feedback as well. I'm pretty sure that Mansour wouldn't have like a thing with that. Now here, as you can see, we are in a mobile phone, and as I was saying earlier, it's not very clear what you are typing here, because behind you have like that image. Okay, cool. And also the hamburger here, it's not again very clear because of the image which is behind. In that case, maybe you could make the image to fade a little bit or add some opacity, so I could read a little bit easier the text. Okay, I can see everything clear here, so let's go a little bit down below. Oops, that should close. Okay, so I'm going down, but this stays open. If the other person like scrolls down, make that menu to close. I think that with jQuery it's not very difficult to handle this kind of things, and maybe jQuery is a little bit oldish, so you could totally add something newer. Alright, I can see here the, I think that this is the About Me section. I cannot see your image right here. I don't know why you delete the image, but you could also add your image. Okay, that would be like pretty cool. Alright, and then we are in your CV. Pretty cool. I wouldn't change anything here. Maybe you could make the letters a little bit bigger because they are kind of small. Let's check that. Margin, font. Okay, so here you could try to make your letters a little bit bigger. Yep, you get the point. Okay, for technologies, I noticed that you have them one below the other, and maybe this takes a lot of place and the other person has to scroll a lot. We don't want that, so maybe you could make the alignment to have like two columns, one next to each other, so the other person would scroll in like the half, and that would be like a nice improvement. And the soft skill, it goes the same. You could have like two columns. Now my biggest like, let's say problem, it's not a problem, but my biggest concern would be here, that I don't see the information that I could see before. Like before I could see vanilla JavaScript and CSS, and even if you didn't have a lot of information, at least you had some information. Now I don't see anything. I think that, I don't know why, maybe here in this class with the overlay, maybe it's missing something. I don't know, you can play a little bit with the opacity or other stuff, so I can still see all the information that you have. Because if I don't see this information, I just see an image. And because this is your portfolio, I want to see more things than the image. The other thing is, again in this section, is that the images they mention. Be aware of that as well. Now we are in the quote section, and I can see here that you have aligned everything in the middle, whereas before it was on left. Okay, and so this is like a difference. Here it is a little bit better, but the letters are actually quite small. Make the letters bigger, okay? It's a little bit difficult to read that thing. Okay, probably you have a class about that. Okay, like font, oops, font size, I don't know, do something big. And before you had an envelope, an email or something, now you don't have that. It's okay, I don't think that the other person is missing so much. Also, the subject and the email could be like full width and not just like this, like let's say 60 or 50% of the whole width, really you could make that to be the whole width. Then you have the playlist, and then you have the tweets. About the tweets, again, I would suggest the same thing. Keep only the first one. You don't really need 3 tweets, because you have like the view on Twitter. If the other person really wants to, they can go. Okay, I think that was it, guys. I hope that you enjoyed it, this review, as well as the previous one. They were in French and in Spain, so I didn't understand anything, but I really hope that you enjoyed it. And don't forget to take part with your websites and with your portfolios as well. If you did like this video, like a thumbs up.